would be eradicated if it breaches the Gaza deal with Israel, but said he would give the Palestinian militant group a chance to honor the truce. We'll bring you the latest from the ground on the show.
Also on World DNA, Russia's top diplomat Sergei Lavrov and US counterpart Marco Rubio, they've discussed preparations for an upcoming summit between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. They discussed this over a call. Ukrainian President Zelensky said earlier that he was ready to join the meeting of Trump and Putin if he was invited, but neither Moscow or Washington mentioned Zelensky in their statements. What happens next? We bring you the latest. Let's start with the headlines.
Delhi's air quality deteriorates with most of the monitoring stations marked in red zone as people across the Indian capital celebrate Diwali with fireworks that continued past the time allotted by the Supreme Court.
We made a deal with Hamas that, they're going to be very good, they're going to behave, they're going to be nice, and if they're not, we're going to go and we're going to eradicate them.
Donald Trump warns Hamas it would be eradicated if it breaches the Gaza deal with Israel, but says he would give the Palestinian militant group a chance to honor the truce.
Israeli army releases video showing its troops setting up yellow boxes along the Gaza Strip to mark the yellow line as forces have withdrawn beyond this line under Trump's 20-point plan.
Houthi rebels release 5 Yemeni United Nations staff members and allow 15 international ones to move freely within the UN compound after detaining them in Sana'a over the weekend.
Well, they could. They could still win it. I don't think they will, but they could still win it. I never said they would win it. I said they could win.
And Donald Trump clarifies his stance on Russia-Ukraine conflict, says Kyiv could win the war against Moscow as anything can happen, but he doesn't think it would win.
Britain's armed forces will get new powers to shoot down unidentified drones over military bases. Defense Minister John Healey says after incidents across Europe have raised tensions with Russia.
U.S. President says he would travel to China early next year at Beijing's invitation and expects to seal a trade deal in South Korea with President Xi Jinping later this month. And this is despite a recent row over tariffs.
Amazon Web Services says that it has resolved the issue that disrupted many major websites and apps worldwide, stating that all services have now returned to normal operations.
Shares of Australian critical mineral company Slurs for the United States and Australia signed an $8.5 billion deal to boost rare earth supplies and reduce China's dominance. Key miners saw strong gains, signaling growing investor confidence.
Sri Lanka keeps their slim hopes of qualifying for the World Cup semi-finals alive. The co-hosts take 4 wickets in 4 balls in the final over to earn a nail-biting victory over Bangladesh.
Now, the Trump administration has redoubled its efforts to bolster the fragile ceasefire in Gaza after a flare-up of violence.
And with Vice President J.D. Vance heading to Israel, and President Donald Trump has issued a warning to Hamas: behave or be eradicated. Trump said that he could ask Israel to return to withdrawn areas of Gaza and eradicate Hamas if he wanted to, but said that he would give the Palestinian group a chance to honor the truce.
I mean, we've had countries calling me when they saw some of the killing with Hamas, saying we'd love to go in and take care of the situation ourselves. In addition, you have Israel would go in 2 minutes if I asked him to go in. I could tell him, go in and take care of it. But right now, we haven't said that. We have 59 countries that agreed to the deal. We have peace in the Middle East for the first time ever. We made a deal with Hamas that, you know, they're going to be very good, they're going to behave, they're going to be nice, and if they're not, we're going to go in, we're going to eradicate them if we have to. They'll be eradicated, and they know that.
Now, Trump also reiterated his belief that a deadly attack on Israeli troops in Gaza on Sunday was not authorized by the terror group's leadership. Israel has blamed Hamas for the attack and responded with a wave of airstrikes before announcing it was resuming the truce.
Shortly after Trump's comments, Vice President J.D. Vance headed to Israel. Vance will be joining top U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, who are already in Israel.
Now, earlier, Witkoff and Kushner met with the Israeli Prime Minister. According to Channel 12, which cited sources familiar with the discussion, the two envoys urged Netanyahu not to take any action that could endanger the truce.
In a highly rare occurrence, Witkoff and Kushner also met with two IDF major generals to assess Israel's efforts to advance Trump's peace framework. Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich met U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent in the U.S. Capitol. And as per reports, Bessent used the opportunity to urge the far-right minister to fully embrace the Trump plan. Smotrich and his cabinet colleague Itamar Ben-Gvir have been calling for Netanyahu to move to dismantle Hamas.
Now, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that he will discuss regional security challenges and diplomatic opportunities with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance. He also told the Knesset that Israel dropped 153 tons of bombs on targets in Gaza in Sunday's airstrikes.
Yesterday, we saw Hamas blatantly violating the ceasefire agreement. To our sorrow, 2 fighters fell during the ceasefire. First Sergeant Itai Yavetz, may his memory be blessed, and Major Yaniv Kula, may his memory be blessed. Hamas immediately felt the weight of our arm. We attacked it with 153 tons of bombs. 153 tons of bombs.
Despite these strikes, the ceasefire seems to be holding for now. Hamas has returned another hostage body to Israel via the Red Cross. A convoy carrying the body arrived at the National Center of Forensic Medicine in Tel Aviv.
Now, Israeli army has begun setting up boxes along the Gaza Strip to mark the yellow line. This is under President Trump's 20-point peace plan. Now, Israeli forces have withdrawn beyond the so-called yellow line while maintaining control over approximately 50% of the enclave.
Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei dismissed US President Donald Trump's overture for renewed talks and ridiculed Washington's assertion that it had destroyed Iran's nuclear program.
Khamenei flatly rejected the Trump administration's recent offer of renewed nuclear negotiations. He also taunted the U.S. presidency, accusing him of coercion and bullying.
He boasts that we bombed Iran's nuclear industry and destroyed it. Well, keep dreaming about that, but what are you even doing? That if a country has a nuclear industry, you interfere and dictate what it should and shouldn't do. What business do you have in the world? What does it have to do with America, whether Iran has nuclear capabilities and a nuclear industry or not? These interferences are illegitimate, improper, wrong, and arrogant.
The offer made by Donald Trump last week during a speech to the Israeli parliament where he suggested a grand peace deal with Tehran, and the rejection is a direct consequence of American military campaigns. The atmosphere remains toxic following the devastating 12-day war in June, which saw joint US and Israeli forces bomb key Iranian nuclear sites, including the facilities at Fordo, Natanz and Isfahan.
Now, Trump had boasted about the military success, claiming the U.S. had bombed and destroyed Iran's nuclear facilities. Khamenei's response was a sharp, mocking rebuttal of U.S. power projection. He said, "Very well, keep dreaming," dismissing the claims of the obliteration of nuclear sites.
Western powers accuse Iran of covertly enriching uranium to weapons-grade levels, something Tehran flatly denies, maintaining that its program is for civilian energy purposes. Yet, with tensions still smoldering and both sides trading claims of victory, West Asia's nuclear shadow has only grown darker. Behind Khamenei's strong words lies a clear message to Washington: Iran will not talk from a position of weakness, and chessboard has been reset. This time, Tehran believes it holds more than just the moral high ground.
Now, President Trump says he does not think Ukraine would win the war against Russia.
This comes amid reports that Trump had told Ukrainian leader Zelensky to make a deal with Russia's Putin, even if it means ceding land to Russia.
Now, less than a month ago, Trump at the UN General Assembly had said that Ukraine could possibly win the war and keep its territory. When reminded of that statement on Monday, Trump denied saying that Ukraine will win. He said he thinks Ukraine would not win, but quickly added that anything could happen in a war.
Well, they could. They could still win it. I don't think they will, but they could still win it. I never said they would win it. I said they could win. Anything can happen. You know, war is a very strange thing. A lot of bad things happen. A lot of good things happen.
Ukraine is facing more pressure after Trump reportedly told Zelensky to strike a deal with Putin during a recent meeting. According to multiple European officials cited by the Financial Times, Trump pressured Ukraine to accept Moscow's terms, surrendering large parts of the Donetsk region to Russia. Trump has denied the conversation, saying he never asked Zelensky to cede Donbass, but added that the region should stay divided as it is.
No, we never discussed it. We think that what they should do is just stop at the lines where they are, the battle lines. You have a battle line right now. The rest is very tough to negotiate. If you're going to say, you take this, we take that, you know, there's so many different permutations. So what I say is they should stop right now at the battle lines. Go home, stop killing people, and be done.
Meanwhile, Russia's top diplomat Sergei Lavrov and U.S. counterpart Marco Rubio discussed preparations for an upcoming summit between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump in a call on Monday.
Zelensky said earlier that he was ready to join if invited, but neither Moscow or Washington mentioned Zelensky in their statements. The Kremlin said earlier it had no details about whether Zelensky would attend.
Now, diplomatic efforts to end Russia's 3.5-year invasion have stalled since Trump and Putin met for peace talks in Alaska in August. The two announced last week that they would meet in Budapest for a second round of talks, but it was not clear whether Zelensky, who was shut out from the previous meeting, would be attending it.
French President Emmanuel Macron has welcomed the planned summit but said Ukrainians and Europeans should be included. He also said that Zelensky will attend a meeting of its allies in London on Friday. EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas said that it was wrong to pressure Ukraine to secure an end to Russia's war. Donald Trump voiced doubt that China would invade Taiwan.
And this as he expressed confidence in his relationship with counterpart Xi Jinping, whom he will be meeting later this month.
Now, Trump was asked about an earlier Pentagon assessment that Xi Jinping was eyeing 2027 to attempt to seize Taiwan, a self-governing democracy claimed by China as its own territory, without explicitly saying that he would authorize force to defend Taiwan. Trump said that China knows that the United States is the strongest military power in the world by far.
The U.S. president told reporters he believes Washington would be fine with Beijing, adding that China does not want to take the course of action.
First of all, the United States is the strongest military power in the world by far. It's not even close. Not even close. We have the best equipment. We have the best of everything, and nobody's going to mess with that. And I don't see that at all with President Xi. I think we're going to get along very well as it pertains to Taiwan and others. Now, that doesn't mean it's not the apple of his eye, because probably it is, but I don't see anything happening.
Trump will hold his first meeting with Xi Jinping in his second term when the leaders of the world's two largest economies visit South Korea later this month for an Asia-Pacific summit. The US president said his priority is reaching a fair trade deal with China.
I want to be good to China. I love my relationship with President Xi. We have a great relationship. I believe after we leave South Korea, we'll be there together. We thought that would be a good place to meet. And we're going to be meeting. I'll be in Malaysia, I'll be in Japan, I'll be in a couple of others. We'll be sort of doing a little bit of a tour. I've been invited to go to China, and I'll be doing that sometime fairly early next year.
Now, he declined to answer a question on whether he would sacrifice U.S. support for Taiwan as part of an agreement with Xi. Under U.S. law, Washington is required to provide Taiwan weapons for its self-defense, but Washington has been deliberately ambiguous on whether it will use force to defend Taiwan.
Trump's predecessor, Joe Biden, repeatedly suggested that he would order the U.S. military to intervene if China moved on Taiwan.
And Colombia has recalled its ambassadors to the United States as the public feud between the nation's leaders has heated up.
Donald Trump has revoked aid and threatened punishing tariffs against Colombia. Colombia's foreign ministry announced that Ambassador Daniel Garcia Pena had returned from Washington to Bogota for consultation, while Interior Minister called Trump's remarks on forcibly ending drug cultivation a threat of invasion or military action against Colombia.
Colombian President Gustavo Petro and Trump have feuded since the U.S. leader returned to power in January, but their public conflict has intensified in recent weeks over the U.S. anti-drug campaign in the Caribbean.
Washington has deployed warships off the South American coast since August and has carried out strikes against at least 7 boats, it said, over running drugs that would ultimately end up in the United States. At least 32 people have been killed so far, according to Trump's administration, which has released no details to back up its claims.
Now, for more on this, our correspondent Susan Donani has sent us this report from New York. Listen in.
Colombia has recalled its ambassador to the United States after a major diplomatic clash with Washington. President Donald Trump accused Colombia's leader, Gustavo Petro, as being a quote-unquote illegal drug leader who enables large-scale narcotics production and announced plans to end U.S. aid and impose new tariffs on Colombian exports. The fallout intensified after a U.S. military strike on a vessel in Caribbean waters, which Colombia says killed a fisherman, calling it a murder and a violation of sovereignty. Colombia's interior minister has since warned that President Trump's rhetoric amounts to a quote-unquote invasion threat, raising fears of the deepest diplomatic rupture between the two countries in decades. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Part of the White House East Wing is being torn down to make way for a new ballroom.
Now, the project has been initiated by U.S. President Donald Trump, who stated it would not affect the existing structure. The East Wing of the White House complex has long served as the location for the First Lady's offices, a small theater and the entrance that welcomes visiting foreign dignitaries.
The planned ballroom carries an estimated price tag of over $250 million, with President Trump saying the costs would be covered by him and private donors. Moreover, Trump has promoted the project, claiming that it will be the finest ballroom in the country.
They've wanted a ballroom for 150 years. and I'm giving that honor to this wonderful place. I think we should do it. This was the ballroom, and this room holds 88 people, and the new one will hold 999 people, which is a difference. I say 999 because I didn't want to crack 1,000. I didn't want people to get concerned because that's getting big. But we're going to have we'll have the most beautiful ballroom in the country.
The existing East Wing was constructed in 1942 during Franklin D. Roosevelt's presidency and in the midst of World War II, built atop an emergency bunker designed for presidential use.
Well, immortality has dazzled several. A lot of people have dreamt about being immortal, but from science fiction to mythologies, they're all full of such instances where humans have aspired for long life.
Now, what if the secret to a longer life crawls beneath your feet? Well, this next story tells about how tiny rodents, almost invisible in the dark, may hold the key. The humble rat just became a titan of anti-aging science. Now, here's a report on that.
The naked mole rat, a mouse-sized underground dweller that lives 30+ years, 5 to 10 times longer than comparable rodents. Chinese scientists have now uncovered a major piece of the puzzle, a modified version of the DNA sensor protein C-gas that, in naked mole rats, promotes efficient repair of broken DNA strands. In humans and mice, C-gas typically blocks the key repair route called homologous recombination, but in naked mole rats, the story flips. Scientists have cracked the molecular basis for exceptional longevity. They have identified the biological switch that activates DNA repair at precisely the right moments. The new findings, published in the journal Science, could also shed light on why naked mole rats are resistant to a wide range of age-related diseases. Every time your cells divide, mistakes accumulate. Mutations multiply, your body deteriorates. Cancer cells emerge, your brain fades. This protein fixes those mistakes. It keeps genetic integrity intact. It prevents the cascade of cellular collapse we call aging. The implications are staggering. If scientists can unlock this protein, activate it, enhance it, replicate its naked mole rat efficiency in human cells, they could extend lifespan, that to a healthier one. Decades of vitality, decades of youth, decades of life without decline. A wrinkled rat just became the most important mammal on the planet, because inside its cells lives the answer to the oldest human question. Bureau Report, WION World is one.
And well, it's now time for a very short break on World DNA. We'll be back with more news and updates, including India's national capital region has just woken up to a layer of smog on the morning, and this comes after the festival Diwali. Now, following widespread firecracker emissions and adverse meteorological conditions, this fog has been visible.
Amazon has said that its cloud computing services unit AWS is back online after a major internet disruption hit thousands of websites and apps worldwide. This and a lot more lined up for you on the other side of a very short break. This is World DNA. Come right back.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
You understand that? This is the historic dawn of a new Middle East.
The best day of my life.
Donald Trump is the greatest friend that the state of Israel has ever had in the White House. Mr. President, you are committed to this peace. I am committed to this peace for their great contribution to this effort.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS Centenary Year, Kesariya at 100.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching World DNA with Jyotsna. I'm Shivan. Lots more to discuss. Let's start with the headlines.
Japan set to get its first woman prime minister today after Sanae Takaichi, a China hawk and social conservative, forges an 11th-hour deal to form a new coalition. Country's fifth premier in as many years will lead a minority government.
Japan's Nikkei 225 rose over 1% to a fresh record of 49,739 points, with the topics also setting new highs. The rally comes as lawmakers are expected to vote to confirm Takaichi as the next prime minister.
Colombia recalls its ambassador to the United States as public feud heats up between Donald Trump and Gustavo Petro, with U.S. President revoking aid to South American nation and threatening punishing tariffs.
We made a deal with Hamas that they're going to be very good, they're going to behave, they're going to be nice, and if they're not, we're going to go and we're going to eradicate them.
Donald Trump warns Hamas it would be eradicated if it breaches the Gaza deal with Israel, but says he would give the Palestinian militant group a chance to honor the truce.
Israeli army releases video showing its troops setting up yellow boxes along the Gaza Strip to mark the yellow line, as forces have withdrawn beyond this line under Trump's 20-point Gaza plan.
Well, they could. They could still win it. I don't think they will, but they could still win it. I never said they would win it. I said they could win.
Trump clarifies his stance on the Russia-Ukraine conflict, saying Kiev could win the war against Moscow, as anything can happen, but he doesn't think Ukraine would win.
U.S. President says he would travel to China early next year at Beijing's invitation and expects to seal a trade deal in South Korea with President Xi Jinping later this month, despite a recent row over tariffs.
Delhi's air quality deteriorates, with most of the monitoring stations marked in red zone as people across the Indian capital celebrate Diwali with fireworks that continued past the time allotted by the Supreme Court.
Pakistan Cricket Board sacks Mohammad Rizwan as ODI captain. Shaheen Afridi named new skipper ahead of South Africa series starting from November 4th. In India's national capital region woke up to a layer of smog on the morning after Diwali.
The air quality across Delhi and its neighborhood plummeted into the severe category following widespread firecracker emissions and adverse meteorological conditions. This morning, the average air quality index registered readings well above the 400 mark in several locations across Delhi, classifying the air as posing a serious health risk. Central Delhi recorded an AQI of 409, Anand Vihar at 500, while air pollution levels in Punjabi Bagh touched 999.
According to reports, at least 36 out of the 38 monitoring stations recorded pollution levels in the red zone, indicating several severe air quality. In a bid to curb deteriorating air quality, authorities have already enforced Stage 2 of the Graded Response Action Plan across Delhi NCR.
This includes a ban on use of diesel generator sets except for essential and emergency services, increase in parking fees to discourage car use, ban on open burning of waste and biomass, strict enforcement of dust control measures at construction sites, and promotion of public transport and advisories for carpooling. These measures are aimed at curbing sources of pollution as emissions peak. And the mortal remains of the Nepali student Bipin Joshi, who was a Hamas hostage, was brought back to Nepal after being repatriated.
Now, his remains were flown from Israel's Ben Gurion International Airport in Tel Aviv and arrived at the Tribhuvan International Airport on Monday. At the airport, Nepal's interim Prime Minister Sushila Karki paid tribute to Joshi and draped a national flag over his coffin.
Karki said that Bipin Joshi will continue to live in the hearts of the people of Nepal.
Bipin is a son of all Nepali mothers. The name Bipin will be immortal. No one can forget him for his bravery and the hardships he had to face.
Joshi's mortal remains will be flown to his home district of Kanchanpur in western Nepal, where his family will perform his final rites.
He was among 17 Nepali students studying under the Learn and Earn program in southern Israel, where Hamas launched its surprise attack on the 7th of October 2023. Following the attack, Bipin Joshi was taken hostage by Hamas along with at least 16 other Nepali citizens.
According to a letter reportedly received by his family, Joshi died from a gunshot wound in the head. However, the exact time, place and circumstances of his death have not yet been independently verified. Now, how long will Pakistan-Afghanistan truce hold? A day after Pakistan and Afghanistan agreed to a new ceasefire, Islamabad has issued a stern warning to Kabul.
Pakistan has said that anything coming from Afghanistan will be a violation of the agreement, and this underscores the fragility of the accord. Pakistan's Defence Minister Khwaja Asif says that the ceasefire agreement between Islamabad and Kabul depends on the Taliban's ability to control its militants launching attacks on Pakistan from Afghan territory.
This was very clearly, spelled out that there won't be any incursions and TTP will not have any facility on their soil. We kept on repeating, and obviously they deny it, but in an implied way, both the countries, Turkey and Doha, Qatar, they pressed upon them that this is the main bone of contention.
Khwaja Asif was referring to a ceasefire pact reached in Doha over the weekend. The Taliban administration and Afghanistan's defense ministry are yet to respond to Pakistan defense minister's comment.
Qatar, on the other hand, has removed a reference to the Pakistan-Afghanistan border from its official statement about the recent ceasefire agreement between the two countries. This follows the intensified criticism over the use of the phrase in the initial statement, referring to the Durand line as the international border between the two countries. Now, the statement by Qatar's Ministry of Foreign Affairs had included a line that referred to the border between the two countries. This triggered widespread reactions among Afghan citizens who claimed that it seemed that Afghanistan has accepted the Durand line as the border.
Now, the Taliban-led government does not officially recognize the Durand line, calling it hypothetical. After objections, Qatar removed the line from the statement. The Taliban-led government has accused Pakistan of creating a false narrative about the Durand line following the Pakistan-Afghanistan talks in Doha.
Defense Minister of Afghanistan, Mohammad Yaqub, said that there was no discussion or decision on the Durand line during the meeting. Describing the line as imaginary, Yaqub stressed that the people of Afghanistan will decide on this matter.
Now, the Durand line was drawn by British over 130 years ago, which was meant to separate British India from Afghanistan. It does remain one of the world's most disputed frontiers, unrecognized by Kabul and fueling endless tensions.
On the ground, hundreds of truckers are stranded for days in Torkham between Pakistan and Afghanistan, hoping the borders reopen soon. They say they are running out of money, vegetables, fruit, and they face hardship in finding food while they remain stranded.
It is troublesome here. There is no food available here. There is no toilet here. Nothing as we remain stranded here. Our vehicle is out of order and the goods are rotting. We wish that both the countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan, would talk and open the border gates. We are facing hardships here. All the truck drivers who remain stranded here are suffering losses.
And with the Festival of Lights continuing to weave its magic across India, Srinagar's historic Lal Chowk hosted a grand public Diwali celebration.
Now, the ceremony also paid tribute to Operation Sindoor, India's military response to Pakistan after the Pahalgam terror attack. For the first time in decades, the historic clock tower was illuminated with around 25,000 earthen lamps, symbolizing the triumph of light over darkness and terrorism.
Locals and tourists alike gathered to witness the spectacle, lighting the diyas. The area, previously known for separatist and political protests, has now been transformed into a beacon of peace, stability and cultural harmony. Diwali celebrations were also held to commemorate Operation Sindoor as well as to pay tribute to the 26 civilians who were killed on the 22nd of April in the Pahalgam terror attack. Tourists who thronged to witness the celebrations narrated how peace and normalcy was being restored in the Kashmir Valley.
कुछ ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई अलग धर्म से सब अलग हैं, सब मिलके यहाँ पे दिए जला रहे हैं। सब एक ही भावना है कि एक त्योहार है जो सब साथ में मनाना चाहते हैं और ये एक क्लियर मैसेज है कि हम यहाँ पे सेफ हैं और सब आ जा सकते हैं, सब ट्रैवल कर सकते हैं और सेफली यहाँ पे घूम सकते हैं।
Now, India fires a warning across the skies with speed, precision, power.
The world's fastest cruise missile just got even deadlier, doubling its reach. BrahMos is now upgraded with an 800-kilometer punch that changes the game forever. Take a look at this report.
Operation Sindoor proved India's resolve when India unleashed the BrahMos in May 2025. Pakistan's skies lit up with a precision fire that was unstoppable. The supersonic missiles tore through the night, striking terror hubs, command centers and airfields across Pakistani territory, obliterating the backbone of terror infrastructure in mere minutes. Multiple Pakistani air bases, including Noor Khan and Rafiqi, were left smouldering, their hangars ripped apart by Indian precision fire. Now India has just mastered the ultimate deterrent. The previous 450-kilometer limit of the BrahMos is old. According to reports, India has test-fired a new variant of the missile. The new range is a devastating 800 kilometers. This missile is a game-changer, hitting targets with surgical precision. The message is loud and clear. Every enemy command center, every high-value asset is now squarely in the crosshairs. But the rearmament is not stopping here. High above the battle space, the skies are about to be sealed. The domestically developed Astra air-to-air missile, extending its range beyond 200 kilometers, according to reports, it is slated for mass production by 2026 to 27. This move upgrades India's fighter fleet into airborne ultimate predators, capable of neutralizing threats long before they become visible. The dual focus is lethal. BrahMos controls the land and sea, Astra locks down the airspace. India is building a complete indigenous power envelope. It's a strategic shield for overwhelming force, backed by technology that changes the face of modern warfare. This is the new reality. Bureau Report WION, World is One.
In a major development, US President Donald Trump and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese signed a major agreement on rare earths and critical minerals.
Now, this deal worth $8.5 billion also ties closely with the AUKUS Defense Pact as both the nations move to counter China's dominance in the Indo-Pacific.
We're here to talk about trade, submarines, lots of other military equipment. They're big orderers of our great military equipment. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world by far.
The agreement, negotiated over 4 to 5 months, focuses on securing a reliable supply of minerals used in semiconductors, electric vehicles and defense technology at a time when China controls most of the world's rare earth production.
We are discussing critical minerals and rare earths, and we're going to be signing an agreement that's been negotiated over a period of 4 or 5 months. And it was sort of good timing that we got it done just in time for the visit. And we work together very much on rare earths, critical minerals, and lots of other things. And we've had a very good relationship. We've been working on that for quite a while. In about a year from now, we'll have so much critical mineral and rare earths that you won't know what to do with them. They'll be worth about $2.
Under the deal, both countries will invest $1 billion each over the next 6 months, funding projects in Australia that will boost production and processing capacity. Now, Albanese called it an $8.5 billion pipeline of critical mineral projects ready to go.
Part of this deal is very specific, $8.5 billion pipeline. There'll be $1 billion contributed from Australia and the United States over the next 6 months, with projects that are immediately available.
The two leaders also reaffirmed their defense and security partnership under AUKUS, the trilateral alliance with Britain. The agreement includes the delivery of nuclear-powered submarines to Australia, a deal initially reached in 2023 under former President Joe Biden, but now reaffirmed by Trump.
And on defence, we've already had a discussion about taking it to the next level. Our defence and security partnership with AUKUS is so important for us, and I thank you for the support that the administration are giving as well.
The AUKUS deal, estimated at around $239 billion will see Australia purchase 3 U.S. Virginia-class nuclear submarines by 2032 and later co-develop a new class with the United Kingdom. Trump said the submarine construction is already moving forward rapidly.
The minerals and defense announcements come amid growing tensions with China, which holds the world's largest rare earth reserves. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, Australia, meanwhile, is the world's second largest source, sitting on a vast deposit of lithium, cobalt, manganese and other rare earths crucial to high-tech manufacturing. Canberra has also announced plans for a strategic reserve of critical minerals to supply key partners such as the U.S., a move to reduce dependence on Beijing's supply chains.
Now, for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report from New York.
President Donald Trump and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese have signed an $8.5 billion critical minerals deal at the White House, a move aimed at reducing U.S. reliance on China's rare earth supply chain. The agreement taps into Australia's vast mineral reserves, positioning it as a key U.S. partner as Beijing tightens export controls on rare earth magnets as well as technologies. Washington says those restrictions give China dangerous leverage over the global tech economy. Beyond trade, the two leaders also discussed defense ties, including whether President Trump will continue the AUKUS pact, which also includes Australia and the UK, which is now under Pentagon review. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Amazon has said that its cloud computing services unit AWS is back online.
And this comes after a major internet disruption that hit thousands of websites and apps worldwide. Amazon Web Services stated that it has resolved the issue that disrupted many major websites and apps worldwide, stating that all the services have now returned to normal operations.
Earlier, Amazon Web Services suffered a widespread outage. The outage has affected some of the world's busiest platforms, including Snapchat and Reddit. Internet outage had knocked dozens of websites across UK. Major banks and government portals remained offline, with screens across multiple platforms showing technical problems as users struggled to log in.
Now, the ripple effect was widespread. Even Amazon.com, Prime Video, and Alexa face interruptions. Well, now some updates from the ongoing ICC Women's ODI World Cup.
Sri Lanka took 4 wickets in 4 balls in the final over to claim a nail-biting win over Bangladesh. And with this win, the co-hosts have kept their slim hopes of qualifying for the World Cup semi-finals alive.
Sri Lanka won the toss and chose to bat first. Bangladesh started well with Marufa Akhter taking a wicket on the first ball. However, poor fielding cost them as they dropped Hasini Perera 3 times and also missed a chance to dismiss Jamari Athapattu. Now, she was out for 46 soon after being dropped, but Perera made the most of her chances. She scored her first international half-century, making 85 from 99 balls and building a key 74-run partnership with De Silva.
Bangladesh fought back after De Silva got out in the 34th over. Sri Lanka collapsed from 174 for 4 to 202 all out. Shorna Akhtar was the pick of the bowlers with 3 wickets by giving away just 27 runs. Now, Sri Lanka took early control, striking regularly to leave Bangladesh struggling at 44 for 3. Sharmeen Akhtar and captain Nigar Sultana then rebuilt the innings with an 82-run partnership. Akhtar retired hurt on 64, but Jyoti and Shorna Akhtar kept Bangladesh in control. Heading into the final 2 overs, Bangladesh needed just 12 runs to win. However, Ritu Moni's dismissal in the second last over sparked a collapse. Needing 9 runs from the final 6 balls, Bangladesh lost 4 wickets in the first 4 deliveries. It included a run-out that prevented an Atapattu hat-trick. Sri Lanka eventually won the match by 7 runs.
Now, this is their first victory of the tournament after 3 losses and 2 no results against Australia and New Zealand. Sri Lanka is now level them on 4 points with India and New Zealand to meet on Thursday. Bangladesh, however, suffered a 5th consecutive defeat since winning their tournament opener against Pakistan and have been eliminated.
And next up, let's get you updates from entertainment. Oscar-nominated actor Coleman Domingo is officially heading to the land of Oz. The actor has been cast as the voice of the beloved cowardly lion in the highly anticipated film sequel Wicked for Good. The casting was announced on Monday. Domingo's role as the cowardly lion in the second part of the 2-film adaptation is expected to expand the character's presence from the stage musical, where the lion cub rescued by Elphaba. Wicked for Good is set to release in November.
ZEE5 has launched the powerful trailer for its latest Marathi visual series, a compelling social drama adapted from acclaimed Tamil ZEE5 series Ayali. The Marathi adaptation is directed by Nipun and stars Sajid Joshi as a protagonist. Ahilya, alongside a strong ensemble cast, include Shithit Jok and Siddesh Duri. The series promises to be a thought-provoking watch that blends family drama with a powerful social message, set to premiere on the streaming platform on October 31st.
Veteran Bollywood actor, comedian Govardhan Asrani, affectionately known simply as Asrani, passed away on Monday after a prolonged illness. He was 84 years old. The news of his demise sent shockwaves through the film fraternity. Asrani, whose career spanned over 5 decades and more than 350 films, was a staple of Hindi cinema, renowned for his impeccable comic timing and versatile character portrayals.
Now, a cargo plane flying from Dubai collided with the security patrol vehicle and pushed it into the sea after it skidded off the runway at Hong Kong airport.
And we'll continue to bring you all those updates. The airplane suddenly veered left after landing on the runway before hitting the car. We'll leave you with this report. Slip into a short break after that. That's a wrap on World DNA. Thanks so much for tuning in.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at yowon.com.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS centenary year, Kesariya at 100.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is One.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Hello and welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching WION The World and this is Speed News. Let's begin. U.S. President Donald Trump has publicly cast doubt on the chances of Ukraine winning its war against Russia, stating he does not believe Kyiv can emerge victorious. Though he added anything is possible in war. The comments come amid reports that Trump urged Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to negotiate with Vladimir Putin and accept territorial concessions. No less than a month ago, Trump had suggested Ukraine could win and reclaim its land. Asked about that statement on Monday, he denied saying Ukraine would win and said his earlier optimism had been misinterpreted. Far-right German leader Alice Weidel said Budapest is the best place to discuss peace in Europe ahead of possible meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. The two reportedly agreed to a second summit in Hungary, an EU and NATO member that has kept close ties with Moscow during the Ukraine war. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky criticized the venue choice, citing Hungary's political leanings. Speaking in Budapest, Weidel also said her AfD party is ready to govern despite continued rejection by Germany's main political parties. The Trump administration has renewed its push to reinforce the fragile Gaza ceasefire, and this after a weekend flare-up threatened to unravel the truce. With Vice President J.D. Vance heading to Israel this week, Washington is ramping up diplomacy. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump issued a stark warning to Hamas: comply with the agreement or face eradication. Trump said he could order Israel to return to withdrawn areas of Gaza and wipe out Hamas if necessary. But for now, he is giving the militant group a chance to honor the deal. U.S. President Donald Trump says he plans to visit China early next year at the invitation of Beijing. Speaking at the White House alongside Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, Trump said that the trip is sort of set and expressed hope for a fair trade deal with Chinese President Xi Jinping. The two leaders also signed an agreement on rare earths and critical minerals to secure supply chains amid China's tightening grip on the market. Trump declined to comment on reports of Chinese pressure over U.S. support for Taiwan. A portion of the White House's East Wing is being torn down to make room for a new presidential ballroom, part of a project launched by President Donald Trump. Now, he insists the construction won't impact the historic structure. The East Wing, built in 1942 during Franklin D. Roosevelt's presidency, sits atop a World War II-era emergency bunker and has long housed the First Lady's offices, a small theater, and an entrance for visiting dignitaries. Now, the ballroom is expected to cost over $250 million, with Trump saying that the funding will come from himself and private donors. He's also calling it the finest ballroom in the country. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro has voiced strong support for Colombia amid escalating U.S. tariffs threat, and he underscored the deep bond between the two nations. He asserted that Venezuela and Colombia are so intertwined that any harm to one affects the other. Maduro confirmed that the governance in Venezuela is guided by the principle of popular sovereignty, stressing that the true authority resides with the people. He described his approach as one rooted in peace and mutual respect, rejecting armed conflict as nation's path forward. Bolivia's president-elect Rodrigo Paz, a center-right leader, has announced plans to restore diplomatic relations with the United States, which were cut off in 2008 under former leftist President Evo Morales. And his first press conference, Paz confirmed that ties with Washington will be re-established. He also expressed interest in improving relations with neighboring countries Peru and Chile. Paz is set to take office on November 8th, succeeding current President